What's up, guys? I'm so glad you enjoyed my crazy travel story of how I got robbed in Vietnam. So I decided to share another story with you guys. Let's get started. Back in 2014, before I started vlogging, before I had any of this on camera, we decided to go hitchhike in the Balkans with my boyfriend Alex. We were hitchhiking already for the past month, and we had spent the night not too far from Dubrovnik in Croatia. By the way, Dubrovnik is the place where like a lot of Game of Thrones locations are. I think all King's Landings is filmed in that city in Croatia. The thing is, our ultimate goal after Dubrovnik was to get to Zagreb. But Zagreb is 600 kilometers away. And we planned to get there in 2 days, because when you hitchhike, you know, some days you can cover 200 kilometers, some days you can cover 500, but 600 is like really stretching it. Because of that, we woke up really early. We woke up at like 6 in the morning and we started hitchhiking. One person picks us up, they're like, you know, I'm just going to the neighboring village, but you won't find much rides here. Like 20 kilometers, and they leave us back on the street. Another person picks us up. After another hour of waiting, drive us another 30 kilometers. Again, we wait for a ride. Another person picks us up. Another, 15 kilometers, leave us back. By this time, it was already 11. Which means that we spent 5 hours on the road and we covered less than 100 kilometers. And I mean, if you've been to Croatia, you know it gets hot. Morale was down. We were desperate. We're like, we're never gonna get there in time. It's gonna take us, at this rate, it's gonna take us 5 days to get to Zagreb. And we're getting really desperate. We continue waiting, wait for an hour. Nobody stops. All the cars that go are either locals that are not going very far, or tourists from like Italy, Greece, but already their car is fully packed. They have simply no space for us, even if they wanted to give us a ride. We're getting more and more desperate. And we decide, you know, maybe the spot is somehow not good. Maybe we just need to stand in a different place. So we start walking a little bit along the road. We walk for maybe 3 kilometers, not too far. And this young guy stops. He says, hop in. Where are you going? We tell him, you know, it's a bit of a stretch, but we really want to go to Zagreb. And he says, you know what, I live in Zagreb. I'm going to Zagreb. It was so lucky. But then he says, you know what, first I have to go to this other village, have lunch with my friend. If you want to come with me to this other village, and after I've finished with our friends, I'm planning to drive to Zagreb. Well, at this point, the days was so terrible, we decided, you know what, we're better off just waiting for that guy like 2 hours and have a sure ride than to continue waiting on the road. So we go in with him and we start driving to that village, and we're so exhausted, I feel ashamed to say that, we actually both fell asleep in the car while we were talking. We were so tired. I mean, what a great first impression, huh? You meet somebody and they fall asleep in your car 20 minutes after you met them. In any case, we arrived in this little town. I even forgot the name of the town. It was some small village on the seaside. You know how everything is beautiful in Croatia. And the guy says, you know what, just like leave your bags in my car. It doesn't matter really. You know, you don't want to carry it all around with you. We had like a really big, bulky, uncomfortable bag. It wasn't like the backpacks that we have right now. And we're like, you know what, yeah, screw that. Why not? We took our passports, we took our phones, and said goodbye to the guy. Said, yeah, see you in 2 hours, right here next to the car. And as we're walking, I tell Alex, I'm like, you know that both our computers are in his car, plus my camera, plus all our clothes and everything we own. He's like, yeah, you're right. I kind of didn't think of that. I was so exhausted. Seems like a good guy, but 2 hours later, we go back to this car. He's not there yet, and we're waiting, but at least the car is there, so all is good. Bartol arrives back. He says, like, yeah, I had a good time with my friend. Let's drive now. And we get on this like Croatian autobahn, like a paid highway, where you can actually go really, really fast as compared to those side roads like along the coast where we're standing, where people are going like 70. And from there we actually make it to Zagreb in about 4.5 hours. And Bartol tells us, well, where are you staying in Zagreb? I'm gonna drive you there. And I'm like, well, you know, we haven't really booked anything. We're thinking of just like walking into a hostel like we usually do when we didn't find couch surfing back then. And he says, well, you know what, why don't you just stay at my place instead? We ended up staying at his place for 4 or 5 days. What was a terrible, terrible, terrible day at the beginning. And what could have been a dangerous situation with leaving all their stuff in his car if he wasn't a good person. You know, after meeting a person for like 30 minutes, actually turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences of the whole trip. He showed us around the city, he introduced us to his friends, he was so nice, and like one of the coolest people I've ever met traveling. And yeah, these are the little things that happens when you hitchhike. Sometimes the worst day can turn into the best day, like this. The only thing I regret now is I didn't have my camera, because I would have loved to film this stuff so much. It would have been great. Do you have any hitchhiking stories? Did you ever hitchhike?